In terms of at Cisco, it was an exciting time. I came with a Wang background and an IBM background. Joined the company when we were just coming off 70 million in sales and grew it to almost 50 billion. We moved from 400 people to literally 75,000 people. And what we did that was kind of unique is that we took the internet, and instead of selling routers and switches, we basically said, here's how the internet changes our lives. Literally changes the way you work, live, learn, and play. We did this by being customer-driven, by focusing not on competition, but the transitions of everything to the internet. Combine those in products that focused on outcomes. We called them architectures. We acquired almost 180 companies while as CEO. We used that as a form of innovation, and yet we had very strong internal capability for engineering. We reinvented, in many ways, how you do innovation in Silicon Valley. In terms of where the market's going, the next generation of technology will be on a digital world. Every company in the world, it doesn't matter if you're in retail, healthcare, government, etc., will become a technology company. You'll move from connecting 1,000 devices connected to the internet when Cisco was formed to 17 billion today to 500 billion in the future. And this will allow you to completely change business models. It will introduce new levels of competition, huge levels of productivity. And this is where you see each country become a digital country, like in France, like in Israel, like in India. Every company becomes a digital one, and it will offer the opportunity for a huge number of startups, which is where all growth will occur in the future.
You're going to join the board of Sprinklr. Tell me why Sprinklr is so important and what hole that fills in terms of this growth story.
So you nailed it, Maria. If you look for the next decade or two, large companies will not grow. In fact, 40% of them, I said, will go out of business as digitization occurs, and about 30% of what we do in our jobs will also disappear. So if we do not dramatically accelerate startups in this country, and it needs to be across all states, not just on the East Coast and West Coast, but in Illinois, Indiana, Georgia, North Carolina, my home of West Virginia, Cleveland, Ohio, etc., as well as in Berlin and Paris and Tel Aviv and Abu Dhabi and New Delhi. It will be the generation of all job growth. And so just like we did with the internet, when I said it will change the future, I think you're going to see digitization change the future, and the startups will be the job creation and the inclusionary capability for people around the world to participate in this transition. So when I look at a company like Sprinklr, the first thing I look at is there a market transition going on? Back to the basics. Do I really see the CEO as somebody who wants to be coached, who will consider me a business partner, an advisor, a role model, and somebody that she or he can bounce ideas off of? Can they, like we did at Cisco, become the #1 and #2 player? Who are their lighthouse type accounts that everybody focuses on so that you see the momentum there? And can I help a company really dramatically grow? And the CEO runs it, but to be their business partner, their advisor, that would be very exciting.
Sprinklr is working with larger companies, and one of the issues that larger companies are facing is they can't possibly mine all the data out there themselves. Sprinklr is able to mine a lot of data. Talk to us about why this data is so critical.
Well, the data is important. You know, if you think about digitization, it isn't just those 500 billion devices in 10 years. It's getting the right information at the right time to the right person to make the right decision. That's where artificial intelligence comes in. That's where the cloud comes in. And what it allows you to do is to mine this data and then allow you or a machine to make the right decision. In other words, the data is that you and I are going to run in the New York Marathon. For you, you've done it many times. This is my first one. Nike will see that we're talking by social media. They'll see that perhaps I'm thinking about buying a different set of shoes. They'll push out the ads on Nike shoes. I buy the shoes. Then they'll push it out. Here's what the temperature is going to be about this day. Would you like to know what other people are buying for the day? And then they also even help you on what you should eat. So what I'm saying is it's a different type of customer relationship. So this ties to my overall position for all the startups I'm doing, Maria. And so what you're seeing is startup after startup suddenly being able to catch these market transitions. And I do a lot of things perhaps I can do better, but I don't miss market transitions. I'm able to see key goals and objectives. I judge leadership teams who really want to be coached. We combine those products and outcomes. And if I do my job right, you're going to see these 10 to 14 companies, perhaps 3, 5, or more of them go public. And so far, each one of them is on a tremendous roll. So my ability to get market transitions right and do that across the country and around the world, because part of these are in Paris, part of them are in Germany, part of them are in India, and then say, how do we create a startup nation again in the U.S. where we produce 300 to 400 companies public on the NASDAQ? And the IPOs are the tip of the iceberg. The number of companies being formed that your readers watch, there are more companies going out of business than into business. You know what that means. That means there are not going to be jobs, if you will, 5 and 10 years from now, especially in mid-America and the Southeast, where I am from.
Yeah.
So I see this in every location.
Well, I want to ask you about that, because the number of startups going public in the U.S. has dropped in a big way over the last couple of years. I want to ask you about that, why you think that is. But first, let me stay on what you're doing specifically, because you're basically investing in 10 to 12 to 14 startup companies around the ideas of either digitization, social media, artificial intelligence, machine learning. All of these, in your opinion, are really the growth stories of the next 10 years. Because when you were at Cisco really driving growth, you came up with the idea of a smart home, connecting everything in your home. You really drove business in terms of the cloud. This is where the business was. Cloud growth there, big time. Smart appliances, everybody, all these appliances talking to one another. There's real growth there. You're shifting a little in terms of where the growth is. The growth is coming from different places. A little bit of a pivot.
That is exactly right. And you said it better than I did, Maria. We started off providing the Internet just to large companies. We then said, here's how voice is going to be done over the Internet, and voice will be free. And then we basically said every company will become a technology Internet company, if you will. And we got those transitions along the way. We're about to do it again. This is what I enjoy. I love leading market transitions. And so my goal is a very aggressive one of doing a startup nation, startups in every state in this country, and a startup world. And so you'll see me partner with Israel, with France, with India, with Prime Minister Modi in India, who might be one of the very top leaders in the world. Watch Macron in France. He's a very good friend. He's been at my house for dinner talking to the startups when he was economic minister. France got it right in terms of startups. They used to be the worst place in the world to do business, and it was. The last place. You'd go there for dinner or vacation, but you'd never start a business there.
Yeah.
Literally, in 2.5 years, they moved from 120 to 130 startups per year in high tech to 486.
They've changed the labor laws, didn't they?
Yes, they did. But they basically said, how do we partner, create the right tax incentives, the right labor laws, the right environment for entrepreneurs?